Welcome back. Well, yesterday, Mr. Biden signed 2 more executive orders allegedly to, as he called it, strengthen America's access to health care, allowing for open enrollment for Obamacare now to begin February 15th and last until May 15th. Now, before I get to my next guest, Christopher Briggs, I want to show you a little bit of an op-ed that he wrote for the New York Post entitled, "My Kid Has Cancer and Obamacare is Making Everything Worse." He claims the private marketplace offered plans which were more logical and affordable than Obamacare. Well, that's right, we've heard that. Briggs adds, twice over the past 3 years, Obamacare has had no plans to sell us that covers little girls ravaged by cancer or recovering from that ordeal. It might leave us floundering again. Briggs also claims the instability of Obamacare needs to be solved, as it is a complete nightmare for most American families. And then with the coronavirus, add that with his daughter dealing with cancer, he hopes that he will be able to find the right coverage for his daughter and family so they can continue on with the treatment that she needs for cancer. Joining me now, Christopher Briggs, the gentleman who penned that article and also public affairs counsel at the Independent Institute. Mr. Briggs, thanks for joining the program. How are you, sir?
Good. Thank you very much for having me. I'm grateful.
So we have heard the nightmares from families across this country over the last several years, ever since Obamacare was rammed down Americans' throats. It was sold to us as, if you got pre-existing, you're fine. You can, I remember the famous quote, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor, from former President Obama. And then we learned that maybe Obamacare wasn't that good, because where was the free open market with health care where competition would drive prices down, where if you opened up state lines where insurance agencies and health care providers could compete, it would actually create competition, again, driving the price down, and you as a consumer would have a choice. President Donald Trump tried to give us some of that back by getting rid of the individual mandate and other things in the bill, and now this president, Mr. Biden's going to go right back to the same old nonsense. Explain for families why, in your view, this is not the right way to go.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, that's a very good summary of what happened to us. I mean, so when we first heard that the Affordable Care Act was coming our way back in 2010, I turned to my wife and I said, there is absolutely no way when this happens that we're going to keep our doctors or keep our plans, and there's no way it's going to be cheaper. And in fact, that's precisely what happened in 2014. Within a couple of weeks, we got a letter from our plan canceling us. We lost our plan, lost all the doctors for all the kids. And my premiums went from about $800 a month. We have a large family, and my daughter, who's recovered from cancer, is one of 9, is the youngest of 9. And my premiums went from $800 a month to $1,600 a month overnight, instantaneously. And those expenses just got even worse when we actually were diagnosed with cancer in 2015, to the point that the premiums were closing in on almost $3,000 a month by the beginning of 2017. And consequently, we ended up taking the subsidies just to bring it back down, not to $800 that we used to have, but down to $1,600. So the best the Affordable Care Act could ever do for us is reduce costs to $1,600. And not only that, I mean, the hidden problem with Obamacare, which is true whether Biden does anything today or doesn't do anything yesterday regarding this, is the maximum amount of pocket and deductible expenses. I mean, before Obamacare, we had maybe $3,500, $4,000 maximum for the entire family. The most recent plan that we had was $16,500. So, even if you reduce premiums to only double, the enormous increase on the maximum amount of pocket is just extraordinary. So just put this in context. I have a family of 11 people, 2 mom and dad, 9 kids, one of which suffering from cancer. At no point in Obamacare did I ever see a penny of insurance money until November of every year, and then it would reset in January. So I was writing checks all year long for basically care that, as you've mentioned, eventually ended up twice now in 3 years disappearing. And again, my daughter isn't suffering from a broken leg or a common cold or anything. She's suffering from cancer. And my point to everybody who would listen to me, including your viewers today, is if a healthcare plan can't take care of a little girl at 5 years old, suffering, possibly dying from cancer, what good is it? And I suggest we probably scrap this thing and start all over again, because what we had before may not have been perfect, but it was a lot better than what we had been given recently.
Yeah, and your story is one of thousands across this country. Christopher, you said your daughter, she's 5 right now?
Well, she's 7 now. So, okay. Right. And so she was diagnosed with cancer in 2015 when she was 2.5. Okay. She finished it in January of 2018. And she's in this very delicate window where The doctors she's in remission. She's getting no treatment. And they're just waiting to see if this comes back. And if it does come back, it's likely to kill her, right? So we're in this kind of weird period where if you look at her today, she's fine, but actually the doctors are quite, they're watching what happens here.
Yeah.
And so for us, having lost healthcare twice while paying for Obamacare, it's really alarming. And let me just talk about this enrollment thing for a minute, if I can. So one of the truly awful things about this plan is that enrollment before Obamacare used to be universally available. As soon as you wanted to buy a plan, you would go into the private marketplace, find a plan. There's probably 6 or 7, 8, in my case, available. There are so many plans I needed a broker to explain them to me, and I could come in or out of the market at will, right? Well, Obamacare has decided to ration healthcare by making the choice for the current year determinative by your decision in the December of the previous year. So that's this open enrollment period that you hear about. It starts in the fall and ends in December 15th. And the consumer is required to choose a plan by December 15th. And once he's made that choice, he can never leave for an entire 12 months. And this is where we got into trouble this past year, which affects what Biden just did. In 2015, December 15th of 2019, we chose a plan for 2020. It was Anthem. And we asked Anthem, would you be in for the whole year? Our daughter has cancer. Are you going to cover her at the only clinic in Northern Virginia and the only hospital in Northern Virginia that we could actually go to? And they said, yes, of course. Well, March of 2020, I get a letter from the clinic saying that wasn't the case. Anthem had decided to pull out because it has the right to under Obamacare and leaving not only me, but dozens of children at this cancer clinic unable to receive treatment at the clinic. So we went into a panic and we called the Affordable Care Act, the marketplace, and said, listen, the plan we chose has been canceled. They were aware of this. Anthem is out. But what about the plan that we didn't choose? There was another choice we could have had, Cigna. And they said, yes, Mr. Briggs, that plan's available, and it would, in fact, cover your clinic and your hospital. And I said, well, can I buy that plan since you've canceled the one that I currently have? And they said, no, you can't. And here's why. And they kind of chuckled when they said this. You haven't died. You're on the phone with us. Isn't that funny? You haven't been fired. And I said, yeah, I can't be fired because I run my own company. And you haven't moved. And I said, no, I haven't moved, and I haven't been divorced. And they said, well, then you haven't had a life event, so you can't get any health care. And they hung up the phone on me.
Right. Yeah, because
now,
that enrollment period, like you just said, you're buying in the previous year, and it's locked in for an entire year. But what if health issues change? You can't
Correct.
go look elsewhere. You're locked in. Where prior to Obamacare, when we had a true open healthcare market and system, you could change mid-year or something, couldn't you? And go find
Absolutely.
something else if you needed to?
Oh, yeah, and we did it. So I've been buying in this kind of healthcare since 2004 when I stepped out and started my own company. I don't have any employees. I didn't want any employees. I'm a consultant. I love doing what I do. We changed plans a couple times in a 3-year period just because the plan was better. My wife said that we should just switch, and we did. And it was no problem. So here's the thing. We're supposed to feel grateful to Uncle Joe Biden, right, that the tyranny of the Affordable Care Act is going to be lessened just for a few more months. And, I really resent his trying to make us feel sort of, again, grateful to the government that what used to be a free plan is now on a kind of a tyrannical plan that people can't really use. We're supposed to be grateful he gives us another 3 months to choose. This is, a classic case of government setting up the problem to which then they propose themselves as the solution. None of this is necessary. We could just go back to what we had before, which is a market in true insurance products, freely delivered and freely chosen. And in fact, if we don't go back to that, we're heading into a very serious problem. I mean, we can talk about the tinkering we should do to fix this plan. And in my case, the tinkering that I think is most important is, again, the insurance providers are on a completely different schedule from the consumers in deciding when to buy healthcare. I'm locked in on December 15th. These guys can leave whenever they want. We could spend a lot of time and money talking about how we get those two to align up, which would be great, right? But the real problem here is that when you socialize the insurance product market, which is what we've got here, the inevitable conclusion, and the Democrats know this, is a socialized medical system. And that's where we're heading. We are heading to a single payer system. And this is really important. We understand why that's a danger. So effectively, the real problem that I face wasn't so much high prices. And high prices in a free market are actually the signal for somebody to come in with the same product at a lower price. But in a command economy, high prices, which is what we have in Obamacare, is a signal that we're on the way to where all planned economies end up eventually, and that is scarcity. My problem wasn't that something was too expensive; there was nothing to buy, right? And this is what happens in all planned economies. And so my point is that if you think scarcity of medical provision of medical services going away under single payer, you're dreaming. Because what happens under single payer is the scarcity that I experienced isn't simply accidental, circumstantial, based on the fact that I couldn't, in my own way, game the insurance market. Scarcity becomes systemic. It goes septic. You've heard of these, 17, 23-week waits in Canada for cancer screenings. There are these horror stories from socialized medical institutions where you have to wait all this.
We're going to see more of that. Yeah.
That is nothing other than institutionalized scarcity. And so my experience of my daughter unable to provide health care for her, that will not be only my story. That will be the story of everybody listening to this.
Well, because here's how. Yep, I have a feeling there's more stories out there. They're just not getting on television like you are. I bet there's hundreds, if not thousands, of stories like that. I hate to cut you off. They're giving me the hard rap.
Worries.
I just want to end with this. What's your daughter's name?
Her name is Colette.
Colette. We wish Colette the best. Speedy recovery. Hopefully that she stays cancer-free. You get this worked out. I have a feeling that, and hopefully she stays cancer-free in 2 years.
Thank you.
Republicans can take back the House and the Senate and put an end to this Obamacare nightmare, which has been disastrous for families like yours. Christopher, thanks for joining Real America. You take care.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Grateful.
Yep.